The first contract extension domino has officially fallen. Derrick Henry signs a massive extension with the Ravens. His wish gets granted. We talk about the deal, what it means for the Ravens, and so much more coming up on this instant reaction edition of Locked On Ravens.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Oestreicher of Ravens Wire, here with you today on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for being here and making Locked On Ravens a part of your day, your first listen of the day, or maybe, hey, you listened to this morning's episode and this instant reaction is your second listen of the day here. We're free and available for you on all podcasting platforms. That includes in video form on YouTube, where you can like and subscribe to the channel. And then you have an audio form where you can follow along and subscribe. We are a 5-day-a-week Ravens podcast. So Monday through Friday, we have you with regularly scheduled content at 6 a.m. That's our regular show. Then we also do instant reaction shows like this one here today, because Derrick Henry is officially staying with the Baltimore Ravens. Today's episode of Locked On Ravens is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Appreciate everybody for being here live with me if you are. And if you're not, if you're watching after the fact, listening after the fact, appreciate you being here as well. I'm going to be live actually later tonight after the NFL schedule is released. So turn notifications on to make sure you know when we do go live over here on Locked On Ravens. But we had to hop on because Baltimore just apparently loves signing guys to extensions on huge NFL content days. I don't know what the reasoning is. If you remember back with Lamar Jackson contract extension, it's happened on draft night. It was night one of the draft, and the Ravens say, hey, 4 hours before the draft, Lamar Jackson, here's the historic extension for the Ravens in their history. Well, now Derrick Henry signs a massive extension on NFL schedule release night. And I know there's controversy on NFL schedule release night, but look, this was a deal that a lot of people were hoping would get done. It felt like the first domino to fall, or at least hopefully to fall. So Derrick Henry officially a member of the Ravens through the 2027-2028 season. It's a 2-year extension for Derrick Henry. This coming first from Adam Schefter. It is a 2-year extension, $30 million. So you're looking at $15 million per year on this extension, and $25 million of that is fully guaranteed. So it's a historic contract for running back over 30. It's the most money for running back over 30, according to Adam Schefter. And look, Henry's a guy that this absolutely had to get done for. Brian McFarland, who we actually had on the show last week, and he talked about a Derrick Henry extension. He said that was the one that made the most sense to happen. So if you've been listening to Locked On Ravens, you knew this might be coming down the pipeline, and you knew that this would be the first extension that was to happen. Brian says, and we don't know the structure at the time of this recording yet. We're recording pretty soon after the news actually broke, but he says that this would clear up, if his structure was correct on what he put together, it would create about $4 million in cap space for the Ravens in 2025. Now, again, not sure how accurate that number is right now, because, you know, Brian does note here that he wants to see how close he got on the structure of the deal, but it feels like it'll be around that much money, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. I'm not sure yet, but Albert Breer putting in the cash flow of the deal here for Derrick Henry, where his 2025 year, this upcoming season, is $14 million of fully guaranteed money, 2026, $11 million of fully guaranteed money, 2027, $12 million of fully guaranteed money. So Breer notes here, Henry had 1 year and $7 million left, so he gets $18 million for the extra year with the team and getting the option year in 2027. So I'm not sure if there is an option on this. I mean, again, I think that for you, if you're Baltimore, I don't know, like player options or anything, but the fully guaranteed not being there in 2027 means that there's wiggle room where if it doesn't work out in 2026 or something happens, there's the option for Baltimore to get out in 2027. So could just be a 1-year extension when it's all said and done, depending on how Henry's career goes and, you know, what the next 2 years hold for him. But I mean, you know, let's be honest, Henry showed no signs of slowing down. And, you know, I see a lot of people super excited about this. Edgar, you know, we got King in here. Primetime saying lots of money for a 30-year-old running back, but let's hope it works out. Yeah, it is a lot of money. And I see Cam talking about, Kevin, do you find it interesting he got a pay raise considering his age and position, or is he being so underpaid this year that it only made sense for a pay increase? Cam, I lean the latter on this one. Just because, with the Barkley, if the Ravens had gotten Henry done this extension before Barkley, it would have been less money. But as is with all positions in the NFL, I mean, we saw this with the quarterback position with Lamar, if you remember that whole situation where, guys were getting signed to extensions before Lamar, and that increased the price on Lamar Jackson. Now, I guess it was a little different in that situation if you want to compare Barkley and Henry, because obviously Barkley is a lot younger at this point than Derrick Henry is in the running back position. There are those preconceived notions, but it'd be one thing if Henry showed any sign of fatigue or, like he wasn't the same player. And while I'm not saying Derrick Henry at 31 years old is in, the peak of his prime, he's just beginning his prime, he still is a top running back in this league. I mean, he's at least top 2 in my opinion. Some people put Saquon over him, some people put Henry 1. Like, to me, he's an unquestioned, depending on how you feel about Barkley, unquestioned top 2 running back in this league. And, Primetime saying he stays healthy, that's always a positive. And look, I'll bring up Derrick Henry's stats here because I do want to just go over, and this is something I always marvel at when talking about Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has been one of the most used running backs in the NFL over the course of his career. And that didn't change in 2024 yet. 325 carries in Baltimore, 1,921 yards, and obviously 16 rushing touchdowns last season, along with his almost 200 yards receiving and two receiving touchdowns. But you look at Henry's career, that 325 for him was actually the third most in his career in terms of carries. He had 378 in Tennessee in 2020, 349 in 2022 in Tennessee. He had the year of 325. He had 303. He had 219, 215. Derrick Henry in 9 years has had 2,355 carries. That averages out over 17 games, 294 carries per season. Now, the remarkable thing about this for him is that he rarely misses games. He rarely gets injured. Over the course of his career, we're going to do some quick math here on Locked On Ravens. He has missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right around 11 games. I'm not sure when the NFL went to 17 games, so I might be off by a game or two because I'm counting some as 16 games and some as 17 games. But regardless, Henry, 15 games, 16 games, 16 games, 15 games, 16 games, 8 games, 16 games, 17 games, and 17 games. The guy barely misses time. And we've seen how he puts so much attention and effort into his body, spends so much money on his body to make sure that he is ready for every NFL season. He puts so much care on it, and he's someone that really cares about being in his best shape. So I am okay with this deal. Now, that's not to say there aren't risks with it, where Henry is 31 years old. It's not like we're talking about a 26-year-old Derrick Henry here, but it would feel different if we saw signs like, for example, the big example of this is probably Mark Ingram. Right now, Ingram didn't sign an extension with the Ravens, but he came in 2019 and he had that 15 total touchdown season. He was awesome. 2020, he fell off a cliff. He was bad in 2020. And I love Mark, right? Mark was awesome for the Ravens on the field, in the locker room, but there was a significant drop-off in Mark, I think, that year. Let me confirm it real quick. But Mark, I think, turned 30 during that 2020 season. And that's, that's the age. Yeah. No, okay, so 2019, Ingram was 30. And that was his year. He had 10 rushing touchdowns, 15 receiving touchdowns. Then 2020, he was 31, and he missed time with injuries. The yards per carry numbers went down. All the efficiency numbers went down. It was bad. So there are a bunch of different scenarios that this could end up playing out. And yeah, Rick, 2021, I appreciate you for clarifying that. I feel like this makes sense, though. Right? Henry's a guy that even if he showed a little sign of slowing down, like if he does that this season, that still is a great year for an NFL running back, right? Even if you factor in and you want to bake in a little bit of a drop off for Derrick Henry in 2025, which I personally am not doing. I think Derrick Henry still is in tip-top shape and is still a very high quality running back. It's fine for me. Like, yes, the almost fully guaranteed aspect of it in terms of $25 million of that money being fully guaranteed, okay. But those are the things that you have to do now that a guy like Saquon Barkley has already signed. And you know what? James Cook is breathing heavy, kind of wondering, hey, when is it going to be my turn here, right? He's kind of breathing down the back of the Bills' neck saying, where's my money? Where's my deal? And now this actually hurts Buffalo. This deal hurts the Bills, right? Because, and that's just the nature of it. It's the nature of extensions. We talked about it with Kirby Joseph when he signed his deal with the Lions. Kyle Hamilton becomes a bit more expensive. If a center signs before Linderbaum and he breaks Creed Humphrey's mark, that will make Linderbaum more expensive. So the Ravens in this process actually hurt an AFC rival in doing so. And that to me is just the nature of the business here. Henry is an anomaly, I feel like, in terms of these running backs. And look, literally, physically, this man is ridiculous. Like, he's just a mammoth of a man. He's incredible. But just the way that he's been able to stay healthy with his workload and be a productive running back. I mean, this man last year in his age 30 season, and again, Lamar Jackson's in that backfield, and I hated that. You know, I hated that conversation we had to have so many times about, oh, Henry's only doing well because Lamar, and Lamar's only doing well because of Henry. Can't both guys help each other? Can't situations be good and guys play well and, you know, it not have to be torn down? Can't we just build up both guys here? Henry averaged 5.9 yards per carry. 5.9. That was a career best by him by half a yard. His only two other years with over 5 yards a carry, 5.4 and 5.1. Don't you see what you can do if you put some good offensive linemen like a Linderbaum and Stanley and Rosengarten behind Derrick Henry or in front of him and Ricard, right? It's a good situation. And guess what? People tend to thrive in good situations. That's exactly what Derrick Henry did. And I'm not going to take that away from him because he had a better team than he had in Tennessee. That Tennessee offensive line was awful during his final years there. And people are saying, man, look what Derrick Henry, look what he's trying to do with what he has. It's not great. Put a competent offensive line, a competent quarterback, a competent offense around Derrick Henry, and he'd be awesome. And then it happens, and everyone's like, oh, well, now he's just being made by the offense. He's not actually good. Make up your mind, man. Come on now. Henry, I'm very pleased with this deal. It had to happen. And plus the fact that Henry has enjoyed his time so much with the Ravens so far, I mean, that makes it all the sweeter, right? Where he's said that he would ideally like to retire as a member of the Ravens. He had a lot of fun in his first year in Baltimore. He's gushed about Lamar Jackson and this team and, you know, the pedigree, the organization. That's a guy you want in your locker room. And you know what? If you have to overpay, and I'm not saying this is a quote unquote overpay, but if you have to overpay by $1 million or $2 million in a deal like that, I'm fine with it. Because those are the types of players I think you want in your locker room, you want on the field for you. And again, if it all goes poorly, it essentially is just a 1-year extension. And that money is fully guaranteed in 2026, as Albert Breer noted. And then after that, in 2027, you have the option, if you're the Ravens, to get out of it. And that's usually how extensions like this work, where you kind of figure out the money in terms of a way where you can get out of it after a certain amount of years. And for Baltimore, that is going to be 2027. So best case scenario, Henry has 3 more awesome years, retires a Raven, or even keeps going after that if he's still really good. But, you know, in the event there is a bad scenario, which is not entirely out of the realm of possibility, you know, you have to account for with everybody, then Baltimore still has a way to get out of the deal. So coming up in the second part of the show, we'll talk about if more extensions are on the way and talk about Henry a little more as well. In fact, a lot more. So be sure to stay tuned. We got a lot coming your way here on Locked On Ravens, this instant reaction live edition episode. First, this show is brought to you by FanDuel. And for FanDuel, the NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments, whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player. There's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Now, the Nuggets, I'm a Nuggets fan, and I'm devastated over here. I'm devastated. They lose. It's another fourth quarter where they can't get the job done. And now it is game 6 in Denver. So you know what? I'm going all in on Denver here on FanDuel. Nikola Jokic over, Jamal Murray over, Aaron Gordon over. Same game, parlay those up, and let's go. And plus $200 in bonus bets to add to that excitement if your first $5 bet hits. Man, that makes it super exciting. So if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. We're back on Locked On Ravens Instant Reaction Edition. We're just doing a bunch of Instant Reaction Editions today. Today, we'll have 2 of them, this one and the NFL schedule release. So be sure you tap in for the NFL schedule release as well. We had an unfortunate instant reaction last night to our Darius Washington. That one, of course, was gloomy news, and it's a really tough blow for Baltimore. We did a whole episode this morning with Sam and Njoku of the Ravens Talk podcast about options to replace our Darius Washington. And our Darius, in that whole situation, all of a sudden, boom, now we're Derrick Henry, boom, then we're schedule release. Just the NFL is a league that operates 365 days of the year. And Laura, appreciate you checking in. Joe, Rick, appreciate you as well. British Raven, appreciate you popping in. Rob, appreciate you being here as well. And I see Rob talking about, he's not as excited about this Derrick Henry deal. And I understand if you believe it's some level of an overpay based off of his age, right? I get that aspect of it, but it'd be different if we were talking about the version of Mark Ingram that I was talking about in the first part of the show. I just think Henry hasn't shown you anything to say, well, why shouldn't he be signed to the extension? The offensive line, and I see he was talking about getting past Buffalo with Henry in the backfield. That's not all his fault. I mean, I talk about this with Lamar all the time, and, Henry, I think, applies in this situation too. They can't do everything by themselves. And I'm not saying Henry's the perfect player, right? Obviously, he does have his faults as well, and, some things you got to look at. But the offensive line had bad performances. Some of those guys weren't playing super duper well. And so, it just, I don't know. I can't see a reason that the Ravens wouldn't have made this move because of production on the field. And that to me is the big thing. If he had shown a sign of slowing down, then okay. But it didn't happen. And Shante, appreciate you for checking in as well here on the Instant Reaction Live edition. Let's just go over those contract numbers one more time here so we get a better understanding of it. We have Derrick Henry again signing a 2-year deal, $30 million total, 10.3. Well, actually, that should be $15 million per season, and then $25 million fully guaranteed. So $15 million per season for Derrick Henry, which I think, in my opinion, it's a lot for a running back because people are talking about the running back position as if, it isn't this valuable position. But I love for what Baltimore and Philly and Green Bay and all those guys paying running backs. I think it showed, and especially with Saquon winning the Super Bowl here. I mean, it just goes to show the value of having a running back. I mean, I think for the Giants, they were talking about all this different stuff. Oh, Saquon, we want to bring him back, but how much is he really worth? This, that, and the other. Running backs matter. Running backs matter. That is my firm opinion on this whole situation. And I think that, people, it's true. It's not to say that J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards and all the running backs Lamar has had in his backfield over the course of his career, those guys weren't good. They were good. And when the Ravens signed Henry, it was a matter of, oh, well, now why are you bringing in a running back when other running backs have done fine? It's about taking a strength of your team and upgrading that strength even further. And we said, okay, now that Henry's in the fold, the Ravens can hopefully take another step. And Derrick Henry, it's not just what he does as a runner, as a pass catcher, what all the stuff that he brings. He takes attention off of Lamar Jackson. He takes attention off of Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely and Rashod Bateman, right? All of these guys, because with Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, and again, it's no disrespect, obviously, but with Lamar, and if it was Gus or J.K., you would always kind of feel like defenders were leaning over towards Lamar, and they could live with a J.K. Dobbins or Gus Edwards beating them, which is the right decision. But with Derrick Henry in that backfield, you have to pick a side, and if you pick wrong, I remember those plays where it's the Lamar Jackson effect opening up Derrick Henry's backfield, and then it's the Derrick Henry effect opened up Lamar Jackson's backfield, where we saw against the Steelers 3 bodies go with Lamar. Derrick Henry has a wide open path to the end zone. Derrick Henry on the misdirection. Oh, well, teams are sending their guys that way. Okay, Lamar Jackson's just going to take it, or there's going to be a wide open lane for a pass or a run. That is the importance of having gravity. Derrick Henry brings gravity to you in the running back room, in the backfield. And that, again, it opens up everything for your offense. And that, to me, was why in some of those 2-point situations last season and big critical moments with Derrick Henry off the field, I did not agree with those decisions by Todd Monken. You know, I'm sitting there wondering, why would you take one of your biggest assets off the field, or why would you put him out wide? You know, use him on misdirections, make the defense send bodies with him to open up the rest of the field. That was one of the big problems I had with Baltimore last season was, you know, some of their personnel decisions in those moments. And, you know, it was mind-boggling to me. So I think that the next step, I guess, for this Ravens offense is just to make sure that they utilize him. And not that they weren't utilizing him last year, but just utilizing him in clutch situations. It just felt like they got too cute with it at times. And that seems to be something the Ravens do a lot. They get too cute with things. If they just stick to having Derrick Henry out there, stick to having their stars out there, especially like, why wouldn't you want to have your stars out there in big moments? Like that, genuinely, why wouldn't you want to have your stars out there in big moments? I just, you know, that to me feels foolish. You know, it feels foolish. So I think that this Henry extension is great news for everybody involved. It's great for Henry, who clearly wants to stay with the team. It's great for the Ravens, who clearly get an awesome player here. It's great for the fan base, who obviously loves Derrick Henry as well. And then now the next question does become, and British Raven brings it up, time to get Lamar his bag too. Need to get him secure before Hollywood offers him money. Man, Lamar retiring and going to be an actor would be honestly one of the craziest headlines in NFL history if it happened tomorrow. But, you know, British Raven's exactly correct, where, you know, now the next order of business has to be continuing to get these guys signed to extensions. And, you know, the Bills got one up on the Ravens. You know, I talked about the Ravens getting one up on the Bills. So the Bills got a one up on the Ravens when they signed Josh Allen to his big extension. So now the next order of business is to get Lamar signed, clear up that cap space. And obviously the Ravens have freed up money in a lot of different situations, where for Baltimore, Darius, they're going to have to sign a guy to replace him. Ideally, you probably get a fifth defensive lineman. But Tucker's release frees up money. This Henry extension will free up money. A Lamar extension will free up a lot of money. Not just for this year, but in future years as well. So that, to me, is definitely the next order of business, is get Lamar signed. I don't know what that looks like. And I'll have to check the NFL calendar to see the next big content date or the next big, you know, release date or whatever for that, because it just seems like the Ravens love to release these extensions when big content days happen. But with this being signed, I just think that, you know, this is a big box checked off of your checkbox list. And now you have a couple more things you got to check off. Lamar, you know, I think that, well, I was going to say OA, but I think the Ravens are probably going to take the year to assess that. I mean, I don't think OA comes back next year, if we're being honest. I think a team will either quote unquote overpay him, or the Ravens will just want to spend their money elsewhere. I'm just not sure OA comes back, but, you know, a Hamilton extension will be nice. Linderbaum extension will be nice. One of those like Likely or Jones extensions will be really good as well. So look, still a lot of guys that they need to get figured out, right? And the fact that they were able to get one of those guys figured out, look, we hadn't had anything to celebrate like this all offseason. We were kind of wondering, well, when is something like this going to happen? We've been talking about it for months. Doesn't really feel like it's going to happen. Well, now we get it. So Derrick Henry officially signing with the Baltimore Ravens, 2-year massive extension. Coming up, we'll continue talking about what comes next for the Ravens, including what's about to happen in like 5 hours at this point, which is the NFL schedule release, as well as other big Ravens points. Darius Washington as well. Stay tuned. A lot coming up on the show. Back on Locked On Ravens, Kevin Oestreicher instantly reacting with you to Derrick Henry signing a massive extension with the Ravens. 2-year deal, $30 million, which is $15 million per season. 25 of that is fully guaranteed. Really appreciate everybody for checking in live with me here. We're about 2:45 Eastern right now. Started this up around 2:15-ish here, and we go live after every single piece of Ravens big news. So we went live last night after the news of Darius Washington tearing his Achilles. Obviously, we're live here right now, and then we will be live later tonight, right around 8:39, depending on when that full schedule is released, and we'll react to that instantly here too on the channel. But if you can't catch these lives, be sure to catch them after the fact. They're available to listen and watch in video form and audio form. Be sure you tell a friend, tell a family member that we're here for them, just like we're here for you on Locked On Ravens with the daily Ravens coverage. Now, I think the big thing with the Derrick Henry extension, and appreciate the love from Callie Maddie, really awesome. Thank you. The big thing that I think Derrick Henry brings to the Ravens from an on-field perspective is obviously not only his gravity, but his production as a runner. Off the field, he brings leadership to you as well. You know, it seemed like in his press conferences, he was saying the right things. He truly cares. He truly wants to win. And this is just the nature of the game right now, where the Ravens, if we're being honest, got Derrick Henry on a steal of a deal last year. Like that was ridiculous, the deal Baltimore got him on. Like it is what it is. Now Henry gets rewarded. He had a great year, and he should be rewarded as such. Like he had a great year. Saquon had a great year. He gets rewarded. And this was something the Ravens, they did it to help themselves as well when it comes to freeing up that money and making sure that they're going to have as much wiggle room as possible, because maybe their plan is to go after Justin Simmons. Like maybe that is the plan. And we kind of talked about that with Sam and Njoku on this morning's show. So I'll bring up the list quickly here for free agent safety options for them right now. Maybe that money that the Ravens free up in a Derrick Henry extension could get them a Justin Simmons or Julian Blackmon, Jordan Whitehead. I know Marcus Williams is on this list. I know the Ravens are not going to sign Marcus Williams. It's just he was on the list of the top safeties available, so I put him on there. But I literally don't even think the Ravens can sign him because they cut him. I think they can't sign him for a full year. So, maybe the Ravens want to use that money there. It's possible. Maybe they want to use it on a fifth defensive lineman. It's possible. The Ravens also like to carry money into the year, for free agent acquisitions, for injuries, or for trades during the trade deadline. This is a big thing that Baltimore likes to have flexibility when it comes to their cap. And while you are rewarding Derrick Henry here, you are also giving yourself that added and honestly needed flexibility, right? It's needed because we've talked about a lot of things when it comes to the Ravens and, maybe they're missing one piece. And, Henry honestly probably was that piece back in 2023 when the Titans ridiculously refused to trade him over to the Ravens. But we know that Eric DeCosta, he's somebody that is always going to try to make the move. And Ozzie was a little different in terms of he'll try to make the move. But Eric is that guy who says if it's not working, man, we're getting this and we're getting it out of here, right? We're figuring out what's next now. Ozzie was more of the, hey, we're going to let things play out. Let's figure out if guys have it or not. Let's give them a bit of a longer runway. And I don't think either approach is wrong, but the reality is we're living in the, okay, Eric DeCosta is going to make the move when he sees there is a problem. And so having any money from the Justin Tucker Justin Tucker release, any money from the Derrick Henry extension, Lamar, whoever else, it's going to be big for them to do that. Plus, you have to worry about guys down the line as well, like a Rashod Bateman, Zay Flowers, etc. You have guys that probably aren't going to come back, like a Mark Andrews, that's going to free up money elsewhere as well. But there are so many layers to this deal in particular. So when it comes to what comes next, it's not just about this offseason where, the Ardarius thing kind of throws a wrench into the Ravens are pretty much set, because now I think you should add a veteran safety, regardless of if it's a Simmons or someone kind of on a lesser scale. But you're outside of that defensive line, you're pretty much set. So what comes next, you just got to keep chugging along with these extensions, in my opinion. So it does free up the money. It's a good deal. Best in the North says that as well. And it rewards a guy that deserved to be rewarded. It's not like Henry had an okay season and the Ravens were, okay, yeah, Derek, cool. You had an okay year. It was all right. Here's a 2-year, $30 million extension. No, the guy had one of the best seasons in football last year. And he was always going to ask for more money. It was always something that was on the table. Even the second Henry signed his first deal. So I'm glad Baltimore was able to get it done. Now the schedule is going to come out in about 5 hours after we're going to be wrapped up recording this. And the Ravens, apparently there are some leaks going around right now. The Ravens apparently might open up Sunday night against the Bills in Orchard Park, which will be absolutely crazy. I guess the NFL just loves sending the Ravens back to where they lost in the playoffs the previous year. Week 1 last year was Kansas City, and obviously it'd be Buffalo this year if that's true. The Rams, I think, are week 6. The Dolphins, week 9, Thursday Night Football. Those are the leaks that we have right now. Again, nothing confirmed at this point, right? But we're still waiting on confirmation. That's not going to truly come out until tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, which will, again, be live. Maybe 8:15, 8:39, talking about the schedule once it does come out. So a lot of things that could possibly happen here. I'm hoping for an middle of the year bye for them, not too early, not too late. I think everybody kind of knew that Baltimore was going to be playing Buffalo in prime time in some way, shape, or form. I think everybody's kind of anticipating one of those Steelers games being prime time, one of those Bengals games being prime time, that Chiefs game being prime time, and maybe like a Lions. Like that whole NFC North, honestly, might be a prime time game. Could be Packers, could be Lions, could be Vikings, even the Bears with Caleb Williams. I don't know. So we will see, but we will be live here talking about it on Locked On Ravens, and of course, we'll have everything you need to know with that situation as well. So, look, it's a good day here. It's a good day. Wasn't a great day last night, right? The Ardarius Washington news was hard. It was heavy, and it was tough to talk about. But this situation with Derrick Henry certainly gives a lot of people, I think, something to be happy about, right? This was something that was going to have to happen sooner or later. If they wanted to keep him in Baltimore, they definitely should want to keep him in Baltimore. It's definitely the right move. And now you just got to keep chugging away on the extensions and making sure that you're able to lock these guys up long-term. Get them in the building, right? That's the first step, and they've done that, right? You draft Lamar, you sign Derrick Henry, you're trading for guys, signing guys. You get them in the building. Next step is to keep them there. Keep them in the building. And that's what the Ravens have done here with Derrick Henry. So again, 2 years, $30 million, $25 million guaranteed. I can recite that by heart. It's honestly not that difficult, but big extension for the Ravens, big extension for Derrick Henry. And if this is any indication, it does feel like Derrick Henry is well on his way to retiring a member of the Baltimore Ravens. But that's all I have for you here today on this instant reaction edition of Locked On Ravens. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. I'll see you right back here tonight, about 5 hours from now, 5.5, whatever it may be. We'll be instantly reacting to Baltimore's schedule coming out. We'll talk about all the primetime games, the bye week. Did the NFL do the Ravens right, or did they do them dirty? So be sure to stay tuned for that, and I'll see you right back here later tonight on Locked On Ravens.